Hello, it's Grandma Karen. We have learned a lot about your machine. Today's lesson will be a little longer. You will sew on 2 paper practice sheets. You can watch the whole video and then do the practice sheets, or stop after each demonstration and sew that worksheet and then watch the next demonstration. In this video, we will be looking at the Bernina 930. Let's start by talking about 3 safety rules. In our last lesson, we talked about what we can do with our hands as we sew. If you learn to use your hands the correct way, it will keep your hands away from the needle. Rule 1. Listen to your mentor as he or she corrects your hand placement while you sew on the worksheets. It will help you stay safe. The second safety rule is do not look up while your foot is on the foot pedal. If you look up when someone calls your name, you must take your foot off the foot pedal. If you look up from sewing to answer someone, to look at the TV, or to look at the clock, take your foot off the foot control. I just have my feet straddling the foot control like this photo. Eventually you will be able to talk and sew, but you will always take your foot off the foot pedal when you look up. Your mentor will call your name ever so often to help you make this a good habit. Rule 3. In our last lesson, we talked about putting the presser foot on and off your sewing machine, but we did not talk about how to be safe when you're doing it. We have our hands near the needle many times. We change the presser foot, we put in a new needle, we thread the needle, and we clean and oil the machine, all of which you will learn to do soon. Here are 3 things you can do to keep safe when your hands are near the needle. Choose one that is best for you. Unplug the sewing machine or turn it off. This will also turn off the light. Unplug the foot control. This will let you keep your light on. You can also move the foot control way over to the side away from your foot. This is what I usually do. By doing one of these things, it will prevent you from accidentally stepping on the foot control while working near the needle. Your mentor will remind you. Your machine is a domestic or home sewing machine. There are 3 main types. One is a treadle machine. This is powered by your feet. The other 2 types are mechanical and computerized. The first photo at the top is a treadle machine powered by your feet. It doesn't use electricity. The one under is a newer computerized machine. Notice that it has a display screen. The photo on the right is your sewing machine. It has no screen. It is a mechanical machine. This lever is the pattern selector. It's also called the stitch selector. Let's look at some close-up photos of this pattern selector. Your machine has a green stitch menu on the right and a red stitch menu on the left. The straight stitch is stitch 0 on the green side. There are 4 things you must do to sew a straight stitch. First, the red arrow is pointing to the lever on the right. It needs to be set on 0, not on 1 through 20. Second, the blue arrow is pointing to the red line that lets you know which stitch has been selected. The yellow arrow points to the lever that connects to the red indicator line. This red line needs to be pointing to the 0 stitch. Third, the green arrow is pointing to a green light. This green light needs to be lit up to do a straight stitch. Your sewing machine sews 30 different stitches. Some are for sewing hems, stretchy fabrics, doing decorative stitches, and other specialty sewing. The red stitches are stitches that go backwards and forwards. They don't use the all-purpose foot. They need a special presser foot. See your guidebook to find the red stitch presser foot. Remember this knob that we looked at in the second lesson? This is how you make the green or red light turn on under the stitch menu up here. Turn it to the left and the red light comes on, and the red light came on up here. Turn it to the right and the green light comes on, and the green light comes on up here. We're going to look at the photo of how this knob, the stitch length knob, works, and how the stitch width knob works. The knob is really 2 knobs. The outer ring is the knob to drop the feed. The inner ring, the silver knob, lets you choose the red or the green stitch menu. I will show you how to use the levers on the top of the machine to change the stitch. If you're right-handed, you will put your whole hand on the top of the machine like this. With your thumb, you're going to pull the lever to the right and push it away from you until it's at the stitch you want. And then to put it back, pull the knob and pull it down. You want it to be down here on this 0 stitch. If you're left-handed and you can't do this with your right hand, then try moving the lever this way. Make a fist with your left hand, put it on top of the machine, use your thumb to push the lever to the right, and then push the lever away from you till it's where it needs to be. Remember that anytime you or someone else changes the stitch, it will be the same stitch when you turn on the machine. Always check the stitch when beginning to sew. Make sure it is on a straight stitch for today's sewing. This knob is also 2 dials. The yellow arrow points to the outer ring. It is a stitch width knob. This is the 4th thing you need to do a straight stitch. It needs to be pointing to the 0. The blue arrow points to the needle position dial. It's the inner ring. It lets you change the needle position right or left. There are 2 left positions and 2 right positions. The first photo shows the needle lined up with the center line of the presser foot. The other 2 photos show the needle at the far left and the far right position. Your machine's needle position will be in the position it was the last time you were sewing. If you change it, be sure to put it back to center position before we start sewing today. The stitch length knob is like a screw. You twist it to make the stitches smaller or larger. Your stitches go from 0 to 4 in length. For normal sewing, we use about a 2.5 or 2.5. This is the length of the stitch in millimeters. Notice the tiny stitches next to the knob. This helps you remember that this is the stitch length knob. Make sure to set it about 2.5 for sewing today. This class is a no speeding class. As a beginner, you should go slow. We will practice going slow and going fast in a couple of minutes. When you sew slowly, you are more accurate. Your on and off knob on the right side of the machine has 3 settings. When pointing down, the machine is off. When it is pointing to the side, it is at full speed, and when it is pointing up, like this photo, it will only sew at half speed. Your foot control also allows you to control the speed while you are sewing. Push hard and it goes fast. Push softer and it goes slower. If you have it set at half speed, then it's not going to go as fast as when you have it at slow speed, when you have it all the way pushed down. Part of our lesson today is to get the feel of your foot control. For best control, you need to put your whole foot on the pedal, not partway like this. Pause the video and get your machine and your worksheets printed out. I will demonstrate how to sew on our 2 practice worksheets when you are ready. Read this list of how to get ready and then turn the video back on. If some of the things on this list are unfamiliar to you, watch videos 1, 2, and 3. This is the first practice sheet. There are 3 straight lines on the right and 2 diagonal lines on the left. Okay, we're going to start at the top of this line here, and you might have to lean in and look through the little oval hole right there to see if you can, looks like it's at the top. And we're going to reach our hand back here and put the presser foot down. Okay, so the thing that you're going to remember is that this slit or the line on my machine here, on my presser foot, is going to line up with this line that we're sewing on. So your eye is not looking at the needle, it's looking in front of this right here. All right, so let's start sewing. So we're going to go trying to keep that guideline on the presser foot on the line, and I want you to use your foot control and try to go a little faster and go a little bit slower, and then sew to the end of the line. Keep watching in front of your foot, and when you get close to the end, you might want to see if your machine has this. So my machine stopped with the needle in the up position. A lot of machines don't do that, and we will talk about this more later, but I want you to see if yours does, and if it doesn't, then it might have stopped like this with the needle partway in, or it might even stop with the needle all the way down in your paper. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to use your hand wheel, turn it all the way towards you until that needle is in its highest position. And then you can reach through and lift up your presser foot. Okay, we're going to go to our next line. And this time, instead of just starting at the top, we are going to try to find the exact top. And we are going to take our needle and we're going to put it down. And I'm like leaning to the side to see where that's going, so it starts right at the top. You might have to lean forward or lean to the side to see it. And I'm going to put my presser foot down and I'm going to start sewing. Now this makes it so that you can get exactly at the top. And as I go, now I want you to practice turning it sideways. You're going to be using this left hand, your steering hand, to make it wiggle a little bit to the side. So I'm kind of like pushing to the side, and to get it back on, I'm going to push here. So I want you to go kind of off the line, and then I want you to go fast and see how it is harder to get it back on. If I'm going slow and I go off, then it's easier. I'm just doing gentle corrections. And you might not even have any place on your lines where it is off, but I want you to go off on purpose just so you can see what it does. And we're sewing to the end of the line. And as I get close to the end of the line, I might want to use my hand wheel to get to that exact bottom of the line. And then I'm going to put the needle up to its highest position, reach back, and put my presser foot up. So you can do this other line if you want. Now what I want you to do is I want you to start on one of these other lines. And we're going to do the same thing. One of these diagonal lines. We're going to put the needle down in, put the presser foot down. And on this one, we're going to learn what we need to do with our guiding hand. Now you could use both hands if you want to do your steering, but I want you to learn to use your guide hand too. So my machine is pretty big right here. Some machines, this throat ends right here. And so as I sew, you will see that this is going to catch on there, and it will probably catch on mine. And so you're going to use your guide hand. So I'm sewing on here, and you can sew fast or slow, however you want. And then I'm going to go like this with my guide hand. See how I'm holding it up like that, so that it doesn't catch on the side of your machine and stop your paper from going through the machine. And when you're done, I want you to look at turn it over and look at all your lines. So let me get to the end right here. And I'm going to do a couple stitches to get there. And I'm going to turn my paper over, and I'm going to look at my lines that I sewed. And you can see my line is pretty straight. And this one over here, see how I was curved? So see if you can get them as straight as possible. You probably won't get them perfect, and that's okay because you're just beginning. This is practice sheet number 2. We will learn to pivot. This is a sewing term for going around corners. Let's look at some close-up photos, and then I will show you how we do this on the machine. I drew an orange line on this fabric so you could see where I sewed around the corner or pivoted around the corner with black thread. I sewed on the line until I got close to the corner. I stopped a few stitches before the corner and used the hand wheel to do the last few stitches. So then I get to the corner and I put my needle down in the corner. I put my presser foot up. Then I turn my fabric, or my paper in this case, while the needle is still in the fabric until it's lined up with the new sewing line. See that last photo? The presser foot is now going in a new direction. You need to put the presser foot down and sew. Okay, so now we're going to learn how to pivot on this second worksheet. And again, I'm going to start at the top. And I'm going to sew down to the end. I'm using my left hand as my guiding hand to make sure I stay on that line. And when I get close to the end, then I'm going to take a few stitches with my hand wheel until I get it right on the corner. Okay, so remember, presser foot is down and needle is down. Now I'm going to reach behind here and take my presser foot up, and I'm going to pivot this fabric or turn the fabric. And it is really bumping into the side of my machine here, so I am going to have to use my guiding hand to roll this over like this. And then I'm going to put my presser foot down, and I'm going to sew to the corner. And this is a short line, so I'm going to go slow. And when I get to the corner, I'm going to let go of that. Okay, I'm going to use my hand wheel and put it down. And you can see here how this is running into my machine, so I'm having to hold that. Now I'm going to reach back, put my presser foot up, and turn it. Now it's not on the side anymore. So I'm going to put my presser foot back down. And right here, I have this little line on my foot is now lined up with the new line. And so I'm just going to go and sew until I get to the next corner. I'm not going to show you all the corners, but when you get to this pointy corner, you will have to, it'll be a little bit harder for you, the pointy corners. So just try to go around the whole maze, and then when you're done, turn it over and see how well you did on your corners. And ask your mentor for help figuring out how to do it better. I hope that was fun for you. I love sewing, and I hope you will too. You should be proud of yourself for completing these 2 practice sheets. Your homework is to do a little review. Tell your mentor, your teacher, your relative the following things. Stop the video on the homework slide or take a photo of it. 1. Tell your mentor 3 things you need to do to stay safe. 2. How do you put the needle in the center position? 3. How do you change the stitch length? 4. How do you select the straight stitch? 5. Where do your eyes look when you are sewing on a line? 6. How do you more accurately start and stop at the beginning and end of a line? 7. How do you pivot on a corner? What do you do with the presser foot, the hand wheel, and the needle? 8. How do you make the machine sew at half speed and full speed? And 9. If you already haven't, sew on the 2 practice sheets. In our next lesson, we will sew on 2 more practice sheets. We will practice sewing on curves and we will try different stitch lengths. See you next time. And here's a note for the mentor. Call their name sometime while practicing. Remind them to take their foot off the pedal when they look up. Correct their use of hands. The left hand guides and the right hand straightens. Start slow. Let them do the first row on each practice sheet on their own and then gradually add corrections. Help them remember to use the hand wheel to start and stop sewing in the correct place. Encourage accuracy in pivoting. Praise them. Don't demand perfection. Print out more pages if they need more practice. Thank you for helping someone to sew.